In this video, we're going to look at the sed and diff commands. And with the diff command, we're going to look at specifically the C option. So I'm logged into the CytoMill server, and we take a look at where I'm at. I am in my Playground directory, text processing, and a little file named, folder named sed. And we look at that. I had just a couple files in there to help us kind of understand the sed command a little bit. The sed command basically is like a search and replace. So to give a simple example, if I go echo and I have the word front, and I pipe that into sed, and I do single quotes s /front, and then /back / and a single quote. So if I do this command right here and I run it, I get returned back. Well, what happened was it's echoing front, but then it was looking to, if it finds the word front, switch it to back. So that's kind of what it did. It's an okay example, kind of shows you real simply how it works, but let's look at something a little bit more complicated. I have a file here called geek file, and it doesn't make much sense when you read it, but it's basically, you can see the word Unix is in here a lot. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to be switching some things around with that. So I'm going to go sed, and start with my single quotes s, and then I'm going to do Unix / Linux. So when it finds Unix, it's going to switch it to Linux. And then I'm going to, of course, call the file that I'm going to make into switch on. Now, it's not going to permanently change the file. All it's going to do is give me an output that's going to show the changes. So when I run it here, you can see that it changed this one right here to Linux. It changed this one to Linux and that one. So these two got changed both to Linux. Now, when I do it like this, it's only going to find the first instance of it, and that's it. So it only finds and replaces the first instance. If I do the same one again, but I put a 2 right here, and I run it, now you can see that it didn't do the first one, but it did the second one. See the difference between here? It did this one, but did not do this one. Here, it did this one, or did not do this one, but it did this one. So what it's doing is it's finding every second word per line. So once the new line starts, it starts again. Per line, it's going to find the second one and change it, and then ignore the rest. Now, if you want to do them all, that's actually very simple. You just come into here, go sed, Linux, instead of having 2, you do G, and now it's changed every one of them. Okay, now I want to look at the diff command. And the first thing I did is I switched my directories. So if we take a look at where I'm at now, I'm in my diff directory, which of course is in my text processing directory, which is in Playground. And if I do LL, you can see I have 2 files here. Now, first thing I want to do is just want to show you those files. So if I cat file 1, you can see I have A, B, C, D, and E. And if I cat my file 2 right here, you can see that I have some of the same letters, but then some different ones as well. Okay, so obviously these files aren't exactly the same. So what I want to do is I want to compare them. Well, I'm going to use diff, and I'm going to do the option C. C is to do context format, so you can see the way it formats it when it displays it. And I think this is the easiest format to kind of see it in. And I'm going to have file1.txt, and I can compare that with file2.txt. And when I do that, you can see that it's telling me that the 3 stars here is the file 1. Okay, so that's kind of represented by the stars here. And that the 3 dashes here is going to be file 2. So it's really easy to see, okay, this is file 1, this is file 2. And it's looking at lines 1 through 5, which is the whole thing. This one's looking at lines 1 through 7, which is the whole thing. So move up a little bit, you can see that when we have a minus character like this, it means this letter right here is in the first file, but it's not in the second file. Okay? And we see little pluses like this. What that means is that this letter, actually these 3 letters right here, they're in the second file, but they are not in the first file. So it's really clear as far as seeing what lines. It pretty much goes line by line, and you can see what lines are in the first file compared to what lines are in the second file. To summarize, we looked at the sed command, which pretty much works as a find and replace type command, and we saw how it worked with just individual text, like echoing it out but we saw a better example, I should say, when we actually looked at it changing a file, finding and replacing parts of a file. We also did the diff command using the C option, which basically shows how it outputs it. Now, in the book, they have other options too. I find this one to be the easiest to understand. That's kind of why I went with it. And we can see how it compared two files line by line, and it showed us which file they were, how many lines they had, and what the differences were on each line, if there were any.